Hello, and welcome to District Dialogues, a conservation podcast, where we talk with ag producers, community members, and conservation partners about collaborative projects happening in Montezuma County, Colorado. I am Sensa Wolcott, the Watershed Coordinator for the Mancos Conservation District. Each episode will introduce you to conservation partners and how they are working collaboratively to conserve natural resources. Welcome to the second episode of District Dialogues, a podcast focused on local natural resource issues and solutions in Montezuma County, Colorado. Our goal is to highlight conservation efforts and opportunities in the Mancos Conservation District. Today, I will be talking to Mancos Conservation District staff about the projects they are currently working on to support landowners in our community. Our first guest today is Danny Margoles. Welcome, Danny.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for taking the time to join us today. Would you mind giving us a little bit of info on your background and your role with the district?
Absolutely. So I am the Executive Director of the Mancos Conservation District and have been working with the district for about 1 year, just a little bit over. My background is in forest ecology and management. Previously in school, I studied beetle outbreaks in high elevation ecosystems and really tried to understand what types of forests come after beetle outbreaks and how they may be changing. I've done many different jobs in the past, but wound up back in Southwest Colorado about a decade ago. I had been here many years ago working with the Southwest Conservation Corps, came back here and have loved it in Southwest Colorado ever since. I really became connected with the Mancos Conservation District through my previous job, coordinating a local forest health collaborative. That collaborative worked closely with the San Juan National Forest on forest management and wildfire risk reduction projects, but we identified a glaring gap for management on private lands in our area. So I started to chat with Gretchen Rank, who was the previous executive director of the Mancos Conservation District, and we began to devise a plan and an approach to build a private lands forestry program through the MCD, or the Mancos Conservation District, that meets the needs for our local community to reduce wildfire risk. I've been a strong believer in locally led conservation efforts, and it was a natural transition for me to take on this role with the Mancos Conservation District, moving from the local forest health collaborative. So my role with the Mancos Conservation District is to provide leadership for our program areas, oversee staff, ensure we're appropriately funded, build local, regional, and national partnerships and relationships, and ensure that we're meeting our obligations as a special district.
Awesome. Sounds like you have a really great background that provides a unique perspective and great direction for the Conservation District. Could you tell us a little bit more about the mission and goals of the Mancos Conservation District, or as we sometimes call it, MCD?
Absolutely. I've already used that acronym, I know. So the mission of the Mancos Conservation District is promoting long-term sustainable use and protection of the Mancos River watershed, and that is done through educational, financial, and technical assistance to meet conservation goals. The Mancos Conservation District is led by a locally elected board of supervisors, and we have a relatively small district, geographically speaking, but have, I'd say, a really highly functioning district. We have a lot of staff here in comparison to other districts and are doing a lot of different work on the ground. We have a long-range plan that outlines our goals over 3 years and provides really a strategic approach for executing the mission of the Mancos Conservation District, and it's reviewed every 3 years. The 4 program areas that are called out in the long-range plan and that are operating programs for the Conservation District are watershed health and water quality, soil health, forest health, and natural resource information and education. We have different staff that work under each of those program areas, and each of those programs really has their own goals and approach to provide natural resource information and technical and financial assistance to landowners. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is to benefit natural resource conditions on the ground within the Mancos Conservation District boundaries for local producers, landowners, and residents. And it's hard to disentangle how education, financial, and technical assistance build off of one another. In order for local landowners, in order for local producers to do activities on the ground that improve let's say, soil health or forest health or watershed conditions, there needs to be an understanding of, what the concerns are and what a beneficial approach is. And our goal is to then provide some of that information, but also some of the financial resources to those landowners in order to see some of those beneficial outcomes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for providing that background. It sounds like the district has a really wide range of programs and projects. Last episode, we heard that while conservation districts now serve a variety of roles, like the Mancos Conservation District does, they began as soil conservation districts. So now I would like to welcome Neva Connolly, MCD's district manager who oversees the soil health program. Welcome, Neva. Before we dive into the soil health program, maybe you could start by sharing a little bit about your background and role with the MCD.
Yeah, so my name is Neva Connolly. I'm the district manager for the Mancos Conservation District. I currently am administering the soil health program. Previous to my employment with the Conservation District, I worked in local planning and large-scale eco-regional planning.
Sounds like you have a really diverse background that provides some good insight for landowners in the district as well. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about your goals and the Conservation District's goals with the soil health program.
So the Mancos Conservation District is participating in the Colorado Departments of Ag's soil health program. The goal of that program is to support farmers and ranchers to help improve their soil quality. Healthy soils create a more drought-resilient landscape. They help capture and store water, improve nutrient cycling, prevent erosion, increase drought resilience, and are the foundation of a healthy agricultural ecosystem. The Mancos Conservation District started participation in the program in 2021, and we ended 2024 with 20 soil health producers and 1,500 acres enrolled in the program.
Excellent. Can you give us a little idea of what are some of the soil health principles that are kind of the foundation for the soil health program?
So the soil health program's 5 principles of soil health are based in the Natural Resource Conservation Service's definition of healthy soil health practices. So that includes soil armor, minimizing soil disturbance, plant diversity, having a continual live root in the ground, and integrating livestock into operations.
It's great. It seems like there could be so many different benefits for landowners to improve the health of their soils. How can interested landowners participate in this program?
So the program encourages producers to evaluate the context of their operation and fields and decide what resources or practices they want to focus on. And then the program provides a $5,000 incentive in matching funds to implement the farmer's practices that would help their operation the most. So the participants gain familiarity and expertise with new practices and have an increased understanding of the environmental and economic outcomes associated with them. They also receive 2 soil samples, one at the beginning of the program and one at the end of the program, and a soil moisture monitoring system for their enrolled field so that they can tell with the soil moisture levels if their practices are helping to capture water in their soils or not. It also helps to improve their irrigation practices.
That's great. Is this program open to any landowner or only specific landowners within the district?
The program is open to any landowners in the district. So we cover a variety of crop types and farm sizes, ranging from smaller market garden operations to large multi-generational ranchers. The soil health program, again, has 1,500 acres enrolled in the program. And over the last 4 years, Mancos has distributed $105,000 to MCD producers for their implementation of the soil health program. Some practices include planting cover crops, increasing the diversity of species in their fields, high intentional rotational grazing, no-till planting, and adding soil carbon amendments.
Awesome. It's great to see so many producers benefiting from this program. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing about how landowners can get support from MCD to improve their soils. We will dive into the soil health more in a future episode, but now I'd like to switch gears and hear a little bit about MCD's Forestry Program. I'd like to welcome Tarra Harris and Rowan Henke. Would you two like to tell listeners about your backgrounds and roles with MCD?
Sure. I'm Tarra Harris. I'm the Forestry Program Coordinator with the Mancos Conservation District. I've been in the role coming up on 2 years now. kind of hard to believe. I have a long background working with the Forest Service in forestry, as well as other program areas, but a lot of forestry experience and working out in the woods specifically and laying out contracts and marking trees and things like that for forest health and wildfire mitigation on public lands. So when this job opportunity came open, it seemed like a really good fit, and I'm just happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
I'm Rowan. I am a forestry technician at Mancos Conservation District. I started here in July of 2024, so I still haven't been here quite a year yet, but it feels like a while, which is kind of crazy. I've been living in the area for a few years now, working in various roles in natural resource conservation and just in the service industry, bouncing around. And like Tarra, I also have a timber cruising background with the Forest Service as well. And I'm also very happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us, Rowan. You guys bring such great background and experience to the new forestry program that MCD has been developing. Could you give us a little background and tell us about the goals of the forestry program?
Yeah, absolutely. So the forestry program is relatively new to the district, about 2 years also. When I started this position, that's when we started building out the program, but the program has grown quite quickly. The goal of our forestry program is to reduce wildfire risk across the landscape in Montezuma County with an emphasis on mitigation where people live. You might hear the term WUI, or wildland-urban interface. That's where our forests meet where people live, meet our communities, and that is our focus for the forestry program, and improving or reducing risk of potential severe wildfire, particularly on properties that are connected to important drainages within the Mancos watershed and on properties that are close to or share boundaries with the National Forest. National Forest does a lot of work themselves for thinning and wildfire mitigation, including prescribed fire and pile burning projects. So it's really nice when we can create that cross-boundary effort where they're working on public land side and we're working on neighboring private properties. It just expands mitigated, treated areas and helps really reduce the risk of severe wildfire instead of just a pocket here and a pocket there. Yeah. That's the story. Ultimately, we partner with a lot of other organizations, including Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, Natural Resource Conservation Service, in hopes of creating that mosaic of mitigated lands, both private and public. Our goal for wildfire mitigation projects is to have mixed tree densities and habitat types, opening up the canopy. Our prescriptions are really specific for ponderosa pine forest in particular. They are a fire-adapted forest. Historically, ponderosa pine forest in this area would have been a lot thinner than they are today. More of a groupy, clumpy is the term we use, very scientific, I know. Groupy, clumpy stand structure with openings, meadows, individual trees with reduced ladder fuels or understory vegetation that really allows fire to burn along the ground in a low intensity fire instead of burning through the ladder fuels up into the crown, creating a high intensity fire that's much faster moving. So all that to say, our prescriptions focus on returning the stands back to a more historic stand structure that's more open, gives the trees more space to grow more healthy, reduces other risks such as bugs and disease and things like that.
Well, it's really clear that fire is a really important part of the ecosystem that we live in, but it's also a really important part of the community as well, and it's very important to our community. I'd love, Rowan, if you could tell us a little bit how that played into why MCD thought that starting a forestry program was important.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Tarra kind of hit on historic stand structure for ponderosa pine, the fire-adapted species, and yeah, historic clear cutting and wildfire suppression over the last century and a half almost, and also just heavy grazing has led our forest to be super overstocked. Like you'll see lots of dog hair patches like throughout the county on Forest Service land and private land where you can barely like see the sky through the canopy, and that's exactly what we're trying to avoid. So landowners, they might be having like with a really dense forest, there's more vulnerability to drought, which is something that we're all very familiar with in Montezuma County. And when there's more trees competing for limited water, they're obviously less likely to be able to fight off beetles and disease, leaving them really vulnerable. And so we can lose like a whole stand of trees just from, a couple of seasons of drought and beetle stress. And so, our forestry program is super important because it helps us help landowners kind of return their trees or their forests on their properties to a more historic stand structure where we take out a lot of the ladder fuels that would, bring the fire into the crown of the trees that are there and create more space so that the wildfire doesn't move as rapidly and intensely through a stand. And that also just makes the trees more healthy and happy. They get fuller crowns when they're mitigated, when the stand is mitigated. And they look beautiful. The deer and the elk love like a mitigated forest as well. So thinning just helps restore our forests to the conditions that they're evolved to and ensure, health of our wildfire or our wildlife and streams and keeping our trees alive.
Nice. Sounds like you guys have built a really great partnership with different organizations and federal partners. I'm also interested to hear you work really closely with private landowners. How specifically are you supporting landowners, and how could interested landowners get involved if they were interested in reducing risks of fire on their properties?
Yeah, I can take that question. So our program specifically focus on private land wildfire mitigation projects. We utilize grant funding mainly from the state to provide financial assistance or cost share to properties within our funding area, which as of now is most of Montezuma County that falls within the Ponderosa Pine Belt specifically. So you can think between like Mancos Hill, the 160 corridor, all the way over to Dolores and the Boggy Draw area. As of right now, we are just focusing on Ponderosa Pine projects. It can be Ponderosa Pine mixed with Pinyon Juniper, but we haven't started working south of that Ponderosa Pine elevation line yet. You can reach out to me for more information on funding that's available. We have a pretty simple COSWAP application. COSWAP, speaking in acronyms here, that's Colorado Strategic Wildfire Action Program. That is where most of our funding comes from. So we have a pretty simple application. I'll come out and do a free site assessment and talk to the landowner about everything that's involved, next steps, budget, and what funding opportunities we have available at the time. So you can email me. I'm sure we can put a link in the notes, but my email is Tarra, T-A-R-A, at mancoscd.org, and we'll make sure that's written down somewhere too. That's the gist of it. We have worked on several projects so far. 2024 was a pretty big year with a total of 206 acres of projects underway and 56 acres of work completed, and those numbers are continuing to go up in 2025 as we have some projects going on the ground right now, and some that will be starting in spring and later in the summer. But we do still have funding available, so if you're interested, please feel free to reach out to me or the Mancos Conservation District, and we'll get you in touch and set up.
Great. Sounds like there's lots of ways for people to get involved in mitigating their properties, learning to live with wildfire. And it seems like there's quite a few landowners already receiving benefits from your work. So it's great to see so much support and so much benefit from this happening in our community. So thank you guys so much for joining us today to share about our new MCD program.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. I think it would be great if you were able to tell us more about your background and role at MCD Sensa. In addition to your role as Watershed Coordinator, you've played a critical role in developing the education and outreach program. Could you tell us a little bit more about that work?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for asking. As Rowan mentioned, I am the Watershed Coordinator. I joined the Conservation District about 3 years ago. Prior to joining the Conservation District world, I was a high school science teacher, and so this position has really allowed me to combine those two things together, the water and the education, into a really great position that I love. And my background is in environmental biology. I also have a degree in sustainable agriculture, and I've done a lot of work with conservation biology as well. And so this position is a unique place where I can kind of put all of those things together to benefit the community.
That's great. You have a lot of different experiences, I think, that bring a lot to the table here. Can we dive into the Watershed Program a bit more before talking about education? I'm curious, what the goals of MCD's Watershed Program are.
Yeah. MCD's Watershed Program really has two parts. The first part is related more to improving and protecting watershed health. We work towards this goal through partnership, collaboration, education, and working to identify opportunities to build resiliency in the watershed. So where are areas that we can do restoration projects? Who are partners that we can collaborate to get these projects done? And we focus really widely to try to partner with federal land agencies and private landowners and state agencies and things like that. The second goal of the Watershed Program is really about improving water quality and water availability. We do that either through conservation efforts and on-the-ground projects as well.
Those are great goals and seem super beneficial to the watershed as a whole. What are some of the specific projects that you're currently working on with landowners to just improve water quality and water availability, etc.?
Awesome. MCD has been working with ditch companies for years to help improve or replace aging irrigation diversions. We're still working on that work today. We've benefited over 13 diversions in the Mancos Valley in the past to help improve those. The goal is to not only benefit irrigators and make sure that they are able to divert their water efficiently, but it's also really helpful to fish and aquatic organisms to just benefit the habitat in those riparian areas as well. We have also been working with a local internet provider to implement the Mancos Valley Smart Metering Project. This project's goal is to support producers in acquiring metering devices and remote telemetry that can help them make sure that the water they're diverting is accurately measured. It benefits water rights holders because they can easily see how much water they're diverting. They can see if there's issues and all of a sudden they're not diverting as much water as they thought. And it also helps them comply with measurement rules in our watershed to just ensure that they are diverting the right amount of water that they're legally entitled to. We currently have 4 ditches participating in that program, and we have funding to do 10 more meters to benefit more producers. We also participate in the Riverwatch program. We analyze water quality samples at 9 sites throughout the watershed, and this helps monitor the quality of our water. Our water is really important agriculturally, but the water is also used for municipal purposes. There's an environmental value, and so we really work hard to help monitor this water quality and ensure that it's staying good quality that we have in the Mancos watershed.
Super wide range of projects that help landowners and support water quality and flow monitoring. And then I guess, how is the Watershed Program supporting overall watershed health?
One of the biggest projects we've been working on the past few years is we have been working with the Mancos Watershed Group to create the Mancos Watershed Stream Management Plan. The Stream Management Plan is a community-driven plan that highlights how the community wants to protect our water resources into the future. Throughout this process, we have been working with a wide variety of stakeholders who have come up with 8 overarching goals and nearly 80 projects that they would like to see implemented to improve watershed health in the Mancos watershed.
Great, thank you. You mentioned that education played a big role in the Watershed Health Program as well. Are you able to expand on your role in the education and outreach program at MCD?
Sure. As I mentioned, I was a high school science teacher, and so I'm really passionate about education and ensuring that people are getting the education that they're asking for. And one of our main roles as a conservation district is listening to and providing resources for local landowners. These resources can be financial or technical assistance, as we've talked a lot about today, but they have also expressed a need for a variety of educational resources. So education plays a really crucial role in each one of our programs, whether it's the Watershed Program or the Forestry Program or the Soil Health Program. And so this kind of links all of our programs together. And so one of our goals, as is outlined in our long-term plan, is to increase educational opportunities for natural resource conservation. We do this through a wide variety of means, through sharing resources with the public. We have a website. We use social media to spread educational messages. We have printed materials, and we offer a wide range of public workshops.
That's great. It's awesome to see so much variability in the types of educational resources available. And what other kinds of educational resources are offered to the community?
In addition to providing those resources on our website and social media, Like I mentioned, we do really work hard to coordinate and host a variety of workshops, and we tailor the workshops that the Conservation District offers to topics that landowners come to us and ask for. We partner with a wide variety of partners to bring experts in to talk about different areas. We've done workshops on demonstrations, how to utilize no-till drills, master irrigator courses. We work with the High Desert Conservation District to offer the Master Land Steward course, and then we cover everything from soil health, regenerative ag, fire mitigation boot camps, water rights, and planting for pollinators are just kind of a few of the topics of workshops we have coming up.
That's great. It's really cool that landowners get so much input into what kind of workshops that our education program is putting on. What other educational programming does MCD offer? And I mean, one project that comes to mind for me is MCD's River Literacy Program. Are you able to expand more on that program and how it benefits the community?
Sure. MCD is partnered with the Mancos Public Library to offer natural resource conservation lessons. We do these lessons two Fridays a month to their Friday program. It's a partnership. MCD staff works with our AmeriCorps volunteers. We teach about 20 students each week, and the lessons are all focused on how to conserve natural resources and focused on showing students how they are specifically connected to the Mancos River. Our goal is really to pass on these lessons to the next generation of land stewards, as these guys are going to be the ones taking on the reins of the work that we're doing.
Absolutely. Empowering our next generation of landowners and, natural resource professionals is so important. So thank you. It's inspiring to see how education ties into soil health and forestry and watershed programs, and how each program at MCD has been tailored to meet the needs of the local community, whether it's financial assistance, technical expertise, or educational resources needed. You can find them at your local conservation district.
Thanks for tuning in to District Dialogues, and thank you, Rowan, for joining me as co-host today. I've been your host, Sensa Wolcott. Today you've heard from Mancos Conservation District staff about some of the financial, technical, and educational resources that MCD provides to support local landowners. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we will dive more deeply into the importance of soil health and how producers and partners are implementing practices to improve soil health here in the Mancos Conservation District. Thanks for tuning in to District Dialogues. You can find a transcript of this episode, along with any links to any programs or resources we mentioned, on our website, mancoscd.org. Don't forget to subscribe to hear the latest from the Mancos Conservation District.